Hello everyone, my name is drgdsharma and you are watching English, and in this video we are going to explain some of the important questions primarily for UPTGT, PGT, UPGIC and LT grade examination. These questions are based on the particular syllabus prescribed for these examinations. In this video you will have detailed explanation of each question, so that you can understand the question itself completely and you can have also other points related to that question. So let us start this video. The first question is, for nature then the coarser pleasures of my boyish days and their glad animal movements all gone by to me was all in all. In these lines from Tintern Abbey Revisited, Wordsworth is talking about the second stage in his relationship with nature, the first stage in his relationship with nature, both the first and the second stages in his relationship with nature, or the third stage. And the correct answer is, it is both the first and the second stages he is talking about in this line. As we know that in this poem in Tintern Abbey, Wordsworth presents the stages of development of his poetic creed, or rather the poetic creeds towards nature. His growing attitude towards nature, the development of all his attitude and approach towards nature. So in the first and the second stages, he talks about the animal pleasures. Here he is talking about animal pleasures. What we can say, the phenomenal pleasure. The sensuous pleasure rather, the pleasure which he felt with his senses. So he was thrilled by looking at the things before his eyes. The greenery, the cataract, the streams, the movement of the branches, the swishing of the branches, and the naked beauty of nature infatuated him and thrilled him. He was rather attracted. In his boyish days or in his early childhood, or what we can say in his youthful days, he did not understand the very concept of Mother Nature. He did not try to connect his existence with the existence of nature. Rather, he felt thrilled, he felt infatuated, he felt attracted, he felt pleased, and it was a sensuous pleasure. So he talks about this first and the second stage. This poem is written in blank verse, and it was the last poem of Lyrical Ballads. It was published in 1798. And then the visit was done on 13 July 1798. He made this visit after 5 years. Next question, she was a worthy woman all her life. Husbands at church door she had 5, are an example of blank verse, clariho, heroic couplet of free verse. Undoubtedly it is the example of heroic couplet, as you can discern quite easily that these are the lines from the description of Wife of Bath, from prologue to the Canterbury Tales. The description is of Wife of Bath. She believed in polygamy. She had 5 husbands. So the language suggests that it was written by Chaucer himself. And Chaucer's prologue was written in heroic couplet. If we talk about heroic couplet, it is a poem of 2 lines or rather rhyming lines. They are usually in iambic pentameter. 1 short followed by 1 long. And then this feat, short and long syllable. This arrangement is multiplied by 5, means this arrangement is 5 times. Line of 10 syllables. In the arrangement of 5 feet. 1 feet consists of 2 syllables, 1 short and 1 long. So heroic couplet consists of 2 lines rhyming. They are complete in themselves. They have a caesura. Their sense is complete in itself. The first ever poet who wrote in heroic couplet was Chaucer himself. Chaucer popularized this form of poetry. Free verse, as the name suggests, or the verse liber, it has no rhyme, no reason, no set pattern, no set meter. It suits the very natural language or the natural expression of the poet himself. In whatever way he feels like expressing himself, the verse suits his expression. Blank verse also follows the pattern of iambic pentameter. The only difference is it has no set number of lines in stanza, or they are not rhymed. So unrhymed iambic pentameter line is called blank verse. Clary Hugh is a short comic or even nonsensical verse. Typically it is in two rhyming couplets. So two rhyming couplets in a comic or nonsensical way. Particularly they describe lines unequal हो सकती हैं, they are of unequal length. Unlike blank verse or heroic couplet, the length of the line is quite fixed. The line is of 10 syllables. But unlike this blank verse or heroic couplet, Clary Hugh has unequal length of line, and it is a kind of nonsensical or short comic composition in two rhyming couplets. The only thing that is similar with heroic couplet is its rhyming nature. It was invented by Edmund Clary Hugh Bentley. उसी के नाम पर इसको Clary Hugh कहते हैं. So it is a 4-line verse consisting of two rhyming couplets with varying length. Next question. A ballad is always narrative or analytical or non-narrative. Ballad is always narrative. The correct answer is A. As you very well know that it is a short story or a story in verse. Anything that tells a story is bound to be narrative. So it is a narrative in verse. We can also say narrative in verse. It is a story. The only difference is that it is composed in verse. It is in the form of a poem. बाकी ये short story या फिर story की तरह ही होती है. So the primary function or the primary characteristics of ballad is its being narrative. It narrates a story. It tells a story. Ballad is of two kinds, authentic and literary. Authentic ballads are in the form of folklore, lok-geet, or the traditional songs that have been handed from generation to generation. They are, in most of the cases, they are anonymous. They are written anonymously. Their writer is in most of the cases not known. They are traditional ballad, they are original ballads, and their vogue was in 15th century. Their revival was in 19th century in Romantic age. As far as literary ballad is concerned, so it is the creation of art. Following the conventions of ballad, writers or poets perhaps, they started composing a ballad themselves. The very famous ballad is Rhyme of Ancient Mariner. Famous authentic ballad is G.B. Chase. There are many more. I'm telling one of the examples. So it was written by Coleridge, and as authentic ballad is all about, it is anonymously written. So we don't concern ourselves so much about the writer. The only important thing about its being, the tale, the story. It is a legendary story in many cases. It tells a story about the exploits or the expedition or the heroic feats of some great warriors or some hero, just like the ballads of Robin Hood. They are usually sung on some festivals in order to commemorate the event or to glorify the person. So in every case it is narrative. Next question. Whom does Caliban mistake for one of Prospero's spirits sent to torment him? Was it Stefano, Ferdinand, Miranda, Trinculo? The correct answer is it is Trinculo. Because of the fear of the storm, Trinculo was disguised. He had hid himself under some kind of sack. So seeing his disguise, Caliban thought him to be yet another dangerous or monstrous spirit that was sent by Prospero to torment him. According to Caliban, Prospero always tortured him, and Caliban thought that his state or his island was illegally, deceitfully captured, colonized by Prospero. So Caliban does not like Prospero, he does not like his method of ruling, and he does all the possible ways to curse upon Prospero, and Prospero in turn does not leave any method or any any way to torment him. He has many times sent Ariel to torment him. Callion had an evil eye on Miranda, so he recognizes her. There is no denying the fact that he knows her quite well. Ferdinand was not at that time visible, so it was a parallel scene. So there is no possibility of being Ferdinand or Miranda at that time. Next question. D.H. Lawrence uses the expression a bright book of life to describe the novel or a dramatic monologue, the Bible or the short lyric. The correct answer is he described novel as a bright book of life. The complete quote runs like, the novel is one bright book of life. Books are not life, they are only tremulations on the ether. But the novel as a tremulation can make the whole man alive tremble. He said this in Why the Novel Matters. In his book, Why the Novel Matters, he said that novel is the bright book of life. As far as other books are concerned, they don't represent the life as clearly as the novel itself. They are merely tremulations. So other books are only trembles or tremulations on the ether. Means on the outer part of the being, or that is the earth itself, books are merely tremblings. They represent the tremblings of human being, what they feel or what they say, but they don't represent the life in its core. But novel as a tremulation can make the whole man alive tremble. So it is because of the novel, reading of the novel, that the man feels completely trembling, completely tremulated. Bright Book of Life is a title of the book by Harold Bloom as well. Novels to read and reread. It is by Harold Bloom. So he took this idea of this title from this phrase by D.H. Lawrence, and this he said in the book Why the Novel Matters. Next question. Hark, hark, woe, woe, the watchdogs bark, woe, woe. Identify the figure of speech found in the quote from Shakespeare's The Tempest. Is it alliteration, hyperbole, paradox, or onomatopoeia? And the correct answer is onomatopoeia. As you know very well that onomatopoeia is when the sound suggests the meaning. We don't require any meaning or dictionary to understand the meaning of the word. The sound itself, the pronunciation itself, the sound of the complete word itself clears the meaning. So it is always onomatopoeia. This figure of speech is not very common because we don't deal in these words, the sound suggesting words, quite often. It is sometimes that we use like coo, coo or meow. So these words, the voice, the sound of animals or the sound of creatures, when the same sound, just like hiss, the same sound suggests the meaning. We don't require to understand the meaning of this word hiss. We feel the audio imagery. The word clearly suggests the hissing sound, and we understand then this is the sound made by a snake. So similarly, all these works, bow wow, bow wow. So these are the voice, these are the sounds. So this sound is normally made by dogs, and the barking, we can understand that it is a barking. So it is onomatopoeia. Alliteration, when similar sounding expressions are repeated, or similar sound is expressed, or similar sound is repeated twice or more, be it consonant or vowel. The only important thing is that a single sound that is repeated twice or more, it is alliteration. We can say that in this hark, hark, we can feel that this is alliteration, but the dominant figure of speech is undoubtedly onomatopoeia. If onomatopoeia is not given in the options, we can go for alliteration. But since two options are given, the dominant one is undoubtedly onomatopoeia. Hyperbole is overestimation of the expression. When we try to exaggerate the things, just like all the perfume of Arabia will not sweeten this little hand. So we are exaggerating the things. We are overestimating the things. Paradox is simply when seemingly irrational statement has some truth when it is dealt with or interpreted philosophically. When we listen to or when we read some statement, It seems to be illogical apparently. But when we try to understand the meaning from different angle, from different perspective, be it religious or philosophical or ideological, so it gives you some poetic truth. It has some philosophy, some truth, just like child is the father of man. From the surface, it seems to be rather illogical. But when we understand the philosophy of transmigration or philosophy of Wordsworth, or from the religious theological point of view, we understand something. Next question, the word surrealism was coined by Guillaume Apollinaire, Sigmund Freud, Andre Breton, Pierre Riverdly. The correct answer is it is Guillaume Apollinaire. The term surrealism or superrealism was undoubtedly coined by Guillaume Apollinaire. Though Guillaume Apollinaire coined this term, but it was Andre Breton who in 1924 in Surrealist Manifesto, he declared that the mind should be liberated from all logics and rationality. It should be freed from this kind of things and then let it work. So it will juxtapose many irrational images into one. So it will be just like automatic writing. So when the poet or the writer tries to write something that comes freely to his mind, this is surrealism or superrealism. So the term was popularized by Andre Breton. It was coined by Guillaume Apollinaire. The movement, it was art movement and it was originated in France in 1920s and then it took the form of literature. Next question, which of the plays of Ben Jonson in which Shakespeare acted? Was it Every Man in His Humour, Every Man Out of His Humour, Cynthia's Revels or Poetaster? It was in Every Man in His Humour in which Shakespeare acted. Shakespeare was himself an actor as well and initially he acted in some of the plays, but he was not that famous or very popular or successful as an actor. He started writing for the plays and then this genre suited his genius and then he became a scriptwriter and later on a dramatist. This made the Shakespeare we know today. Next question, who said that Shakespeare in his comedies has only heroines and no heroes? Was it Ben Jonson, John Ruskin, Thomas Carlyle or William Hazlitt? And it was John Ruskin who felt that particularly in his comedies the dominant characters are heroines. And then he has his grounds, his reasons for saying so. If we talk about the great comedies of Shakespeare, so in all these comedies, the woman character or the woman protagonist dominates the play. Be it Viola of Twelfth Night, Portia of Merchant of Venice, Rosalind of As You Like It. And similarly in many of his comedies, the women characters, the heroines, they dominate. So John Ruskin made this statement that there are only heroines and no heroes in Shakespeare's comedies. Next question, there is a special providence in the fall of a sparrow. The line given above occurs in Hamlet, Henry IV Part 1, The Tempest or the Twelfth Night. And the line occurred in Hamlet. The lines occurred in Act 5, Scene 2. When Horatio warns Hamlet not to fight with Laertes. Prior to this, Hamlet has some inkling or some omens or some premonitions, some bad feelings about that something is going to happen. So Horatio says or asks him not to fight with Laertes if he fears so. However, Hamlet defies his notion that he should not fight. He says, no, not a whit. We defy augury. Augury means something that is ominous. Anything that is ominous, that is inauspicious. Not a whit we can defy augury. If something bad is going to happen, it will happen. We cannot in any way, in any circumstance, avoid any mishappening or ominous thing or inauspicious thing to happen. There is a special providence in the fall of a sparrow. If something happens, it happens for the good. If it be now, it is not to come. If it be not to come, it will be now. If it be now, not now, yet it will come. The readiness is all. It comes when it comes. It will have to happen if it has to happen. There is nothing in this whole universe which can defy, which can avoid this. The only important thing is readiness is all. We have to be ready, we have to be very prepared for everything or from everything that happens in our life. Since no man of aught he lives knows what it is to live betimes. Let be. Because we people, we mortals are not in that capacity or capability to predict or to avoid. Even if we are able to predict that this is going to happen, we cannot avoid it. If it has to happen, it will happen. These lines are addressed to Horatio. Next line, brevity is the soul of wit, is a quotation from Milton, Shakespeare, T.S. Eliot or Ruskin. And it is from Hamlet itself. In Act 2, Scene 2, Polonius utters these words, that brevity is the soul of wit. Being laconic is itself a very special quality. If a person is laconic, he uses as few words as possible. So there lies an art, there lies an skill. It is not in the capacity or in the capability of all the people to practice brevity. It is the attribute of the very limited people, very selected people. However, Polonius himself did not follow this. He kept on talking and talking without realizing or without practicing that in his own life. Next question, how many soliloquies are spoken by Hamlet in the play Hamlet? Whether they are 9 or 7 or 5 or 3. The correct answer is they are 9. And out of those, some immortal lines even. The oft quoted lines even. The philosophy of Hamlet or the philosophy of Shakespeare about the life, about the manners of life, about the happenings of life, they have been all expressed in those soliloquies. Soliloquy, as far as its form is concerned, so it is self-addressed speech. In a layman language, we can say that it is a speech addressed to himself. When the character is alone on the stage and he realizes that he is alone on the stage and he has something to express, something to say. Sometimes we say many things to ourselves. We fear that the people, if we address them, our agonies, our fears, our doubts, they won't be able to understand. So we rather say or address our own self. Similarly, in this soliloquy or in any soliloquy, the character expresses his fear, his doubt, his agony, his pain, his internal conflict to himself. And here lies his core belief or the truthful expression, what he feels like exactly. So Hamlet was not a man of action, he was a man of words only. He was a man of thoughts only. He kept on thinking and thinking, never executing anything he thought. That's why he met his final doom without accomplishing anything even. He was tasked with the avenging of his father's death, but he kept on thinking and ultimately he ruined himself. Next question, who is considered to be or what is considered to be an autobiographical play by Shakespeare? Is it Tempest, Hamlet, King Lear or Measure for Measure? And the correct answer is, it is the Tempest. Tempest bears the resemblance to the life of Shakespeare even. As in Tempest, Prospero after creating a magic on the island, after creating the island itself, the island with living beings, and after realizing his purpose of life, he retired, he threw his magical wand and retired to his own place. He came to the island empty-handed, he created the island and then he created magic on that island. He colonized this island, he made this island worth living. So it was the magic of that character Prospero. Similarly, Shakespeare, when he came to London, he enchanted the very theatrical life of London. So far the theatre or theatrical life was in rags only. It did not achieve that glory which was in the hand of Shakespeare. Shakespeare created a magic, a virtual magic, the magic similar to the magic by Prospero. And he came, he created magic, he produced play after play, magical plays, and after when he completed, he retired, he went to his own place. So the Tempest bears the similarity to the life of Shakespeare. This can be called the autobiographical play by Shakespeare. Next question, which of the following plays of Shakespeare has an epilogue? Epilogue is a kind of short passage or short paragraph or a stanza which seems to be summarizing the whole play or the novel or anything that is followed by an epilogue. The core belief or the core message is always given in epilogue. It follows the enactment of the play or the completion of the novel or story. And which of the following plays has it? The Tempest, Henry IV, Part 1, Hamlet and Twelfth Night. There is no mention of epilogue in Twelfth Night or Hamlet. In Henry IV Part 1 it is not there, however in Henry IV Part 2 the character Rumor delivers this epilogue. And as far as this question is concerned, the correct answer is Tempest. Prospero delivers this epilogue. When he retires from his life on the island, he delivers this epilogue. The very last words of Prospero in Act 5, they are in the form of epilogue, where he seems to be renouncing his job, his life on the island, and then how he ends his magic or his magical wand, which he no longer requires. Whatever he wanted to do, he had already accomplished. He had to make his family members realize their mistakes, which he had already done. So he does not feel that his magic will help him any longer, and then he is done with this magic. So this kind of speech he delivers at the very last, and this is called epilogue. So it seems the epilogue seems to be joining the loose ends or summarizing the entire play or the story. Next question. Who said that Shakespeare knew little Latin and small Greek? Was it Marlowe, Ben Jonson, Samuel Johnson or Dryden? It was Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson made this remark in his poem To the Memory of My Beloved, the author Mr. Shakespeare. In this poem, Ben Jonson gives a tribute to Shakespeare. And he is not saying this word in derogatory terms. He merely acknowledges the fact that though Shakespeare was not well versed or he did not have any formal training or formal knowledge of the art and the style or the prosody of literature, still he managed to retain his position or create a niche in the literary world. And as such, he should be counted among the masters of literature. He mentions Euripides and Sophocles and other masters as well. So in this poem, he gives a tribute to Shakespeare. Next question. Aldous Huxley's Brave New World derives its title from Francis Bacon, John Milton, Shakespeare and Wordsworth. The correct answer is it is from Shakespeare's The Tempest. The lines uttered by Miranda. Miranda, when he saw the ship with its crew, she got to realize that the world which she so far felt that was so limited was so much enormous. So far her world was Prospero, Caliban or Ariel or this little island. She never ever got to see other creatures or other human beings. When she for the first time saw, she realized that the world was not that limited she knew so far. It was indeed very glorious and very fascinating. So she made this remark, Brave New World. Next line. Who attributed this to Shakespeare? He was not of an age, but for all times. Was it A.C. Bradley, Dacre, Dryden and Johnson? Correct answer is Ben Jonson. Ben Jonson made this remark in the preface to the first folio of his sonnet. So that is all for now. Hopefully this video added something to your present knowledge about the writers and poets who have been prescribed in your syllabus. We'll come back with yet another video with renewed or different kind of MCQs on these writers. Till then, stay tuned, keep learning, stay motivated. Like this video and share it among your friends. And if you have not subscribed to the channel so far, make it as a point to do it right now. Thanks for watching.